Welcome, everybody. This is the Beer Guys Radio Show. As always, we thank you for coming and hanging out with us, riding along with us, having a beer, having some conversation, staying dry, which is not that easy to do right now. There, shout outs to our friends in Texas. Thoughts with you. It's raining crazy down there. Our friend of the show, Patreon supporter Tyler, he's been chatting with us. They've had just an insane amount of rain down there. That seems to be going around. So. I'm Tim Dennis. Brian Hewitt. How's it going?
It's going. I've stayed dry all day, but I've stayed inside, which is probably the smart thing to do these days. So
that seems like a solid choice. Yeah, with everything out there, that's for sure. Well, Mike Nate, how you doing?
Also staying dry. Also having a good time. Happy to be here. Tim, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm dry. So yeah, that's all good. Nothing of note to report over here.
Not a single one of us is moist at the moment, which is good.
No, good. Congratulations to all of us. We did it. We did it. I think all of us accomplished that by staying inside.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
It's the best way to be. Well, guys, let's get into our beers of the week. Brian, what you got on deck this week?
Yeah, I started off the pre-games, getting things ready with the collaboration between Creature Comforts and Stepping Stone Brewing Company, and I believe Stepping Stone's out of Denmark, and on a beer called Social Glue, which is a Danish-style Pilsner. So they are Danes, and it's a Danish-style Pilsner. It's kind of a neat collaboration. Enjoyable. Had a little... Take a little touch of like a bright funk to it, which I thought was interesting. I enjoyed it. I didn't think that was a bad thing. Nice and crackery. Very enjoyable beer. I would drink that again. Right now, I've. What's
do you
that,
know what a Danish style Pilsner is? Like what sets it apart as a Danish style?
I've heard, but I don't remember.
Okay.
I didn't think to look into it. I probably should.
It seems like so many countries are getting that. Nate, why don't you hit the internet for us real quick and see if you can get some info? But there's a lot of regional styles there that so and so Pilsner, and I don't know them. There's so many out there.
There's definitely the Italian Pilsner, which is very popular with a set group of people. I like them. I think they're great. German's Pilsner is obviously the big one. That's probably my favorite. I know Czech gets a lot of love too. Czech Pilsners, and those are good too. I think it's a toss up between. It's probably German Pilsner's my favorite, followed by the Italian ones. I've seen Danish style Pilsners before. I just don't recall the specifics of it. I think I've even heard of like a French style Pilsner as well.
Yeah, I don't even know what a Danish style is. I don't think I've ever heard that until just now, literally just now, Brian.
So. And I want to say the last time I saw it was probably a Creature Comforts collab, or either that or a Halfway Crooks beer, one of the two.
Gotcha. All right.
So early research doesn't necessarily pull anything specific, separating it from other Pilsner styles, but it does say like a biscuity, crackery flavor is common in that style.
All right, cool.
Very pleasant.
See what develops there. Good stuff.
Yeah, very bright, pleasant, crackery, little tiny bit of funk to it. Just almost farmhousey, but not quite there. Anyway, it was a good beer. I enjoyed it. Good stuff. Social Glue. I am currently drinking another collaboration, and I didn't plan this, but this is how it happened. Black Stack Brewing and Weldworks on their 755 Bits, which is a New England IPA, combining the hop profiles of local 755 or 755 from Black Stack and Juicy Bits. So 755 and Bits. So yeah, that's good. I'm enjoying that. And in the post-game show, hanging out with the Patreon folks, I'll be getting into Brasserie des Choufs, a nice chouf, which is a winter ale with spicy notes of thyme and curacao, because I am doing that Christmas in July thing with my beers.
July, yes.
Because I have some left over, and actually I bought a few more of these because for some reason they were back on the shelves. So yeah,
fair enough. All right,
that's my plan, Tim.
You know that meme where like the first one is the girl looks disgusted, and the next one she's got that look on her face like maybe so. Yeah. That's it. It's like October beers in July would be the disgusted face. Christmas beers in July, maybe so.
Yeah,
maybe so.
Yeah.
So, we'll allow it. Nate, how about you, man? What you drinking this week?
I've got just one in the glass this week from Paris. I've got their Dr. Juice with a twist. It's Dr. Juice Grapefruit. So this is their fruited IPA with, of course, grapefruit added, and then Cascade and Citra hops. And I really like this. It's got some, how sometimes grapefruit comes across as dry, a little bit
Yeah.
more, stretching out your taste buds. And so I really like this a lot. This is everything I want out of a Parish IPA with some grapefruit additions to it.
Sounds nice. Good stuff. Brian, you mentioned you've got one on deck from Creature Comforts, and you and I talked about this earlier this week on our local beer chat, our local beer Reddit, ATL Beer. I just posted the question, and kind of funny. Here's something people in a fandom, I'll call it, have a hard time doing. Is if you my question was, what in your opinion is the best brewery in the state right now? I said you can only name one. There's no and, no or, no if. You get to name one. Like half the people are like, well, it's this, but if I'm looking for this and it's that, like pocket knives, beers, whiskeys, our perfume hobby. You can't pick just one. So I realized that I put a really tough question up there, but a few people did dive in. And you and I were talking, if this had been asked, I'd say probably 10 years ago, it would have pretty overwhelmingly been Creature Comforts that got that mention there. So, and this says nothing against Creature Comforts. I think it's just more a shift of beer in our state and probably, across many states, but no one mentioned Creature Comforts this time. And I think my guess on that, my speculation is it's more about availability now. Because 10 years ago, we didn't have as many breweries in the Atlanta metro area. And since the user base is, we're all over Georgia, really all over the world in there, but it is primarily Atlanta metro. I think the fact that we have some really world-class breweries in the area probably skewed that. So, Brian, I think you may know, Nate, I'll throw up there. What do you think the masses voted as the number one there?
So I'm not as familiar with our Reddit group, but I feel like a lot of them are centered in the Atlanta area. So I would guess Halfway Crooks.
You would be correct. Halfway Crooks got the most comments and upvotes, I guess you would call it on there. So Halfway Crooks.
Probably Good Word is a close second.
Good Word was my vote, and I'll tell you my reasoning there, because I could have thrown an if and or a but in there. Halfway Crooks for drinking beers, unquestionably, I would go there. But Good Word got my vote because I took into consideration the various styles and how well they do on all of those styles. And whether it's a Pilsner, an IPA, a pastry stout, a barrel-aged stout, Good Word does them very, very well. So that's why Good Word got my vote. Halfway Crooks was a contender. Variant would have been a contender. Monday Night, all of those. But Halfway Crooks was number one. The next most popular was Inner Voice, which a newer kid on the block here. But they do really good. A lot of styles, but hazy IPAs, I think, is one they do well.
Definitely.
Monday Night Brewing got a vote, well deserved. They're one of the OG-ish, I'd say, in Georgia. Second wave OGs probably is a good way to put it. And so anyhow, just a little from our local beer scene there, just kind of seeing the way things have kind of changed, over the last decade. And Brian, you did, come to the defense, so to speak, of Creature Comforts and say that may still be your vote with all the beers that they do there. And, everything I've had from them has still been top-notch quality. They're just 2 hours from Atlanta, and now we have a lot more in Atlanta that can, hang with them there.
Yeah, practically speaking, is very difficult to get. I do have a little bit of an extra help with getting some of that stuff. Our buddy Ken hooks me up with some stuff.
Yeah, okay.
Fairly often. Everything, like,
they're good. Yeah,
it's impressive how well everything is. They're not 100%. Every now and then there's something like, okay, that's not quite it. But for the most part, fantastic. I don't know if I would say, they definitely. I'm surprised they wouldn't get a placement there. And when they do a stout, it's amazing. When they do a sour, it's amazing. I mean, I've gone back and gotten what's their table beer that I like. Every now and then I'll find a bottle of it. I still get it. Dayspring, love that. Grisette, that's one of the best beers that's been made in Georgia. It's unfortunately very difficult to find, or at least the format I'm seeing it in. They've done so many great ones. I don't know that I would say they're my number one, honestly.
Okay.
But yeah,
Fair
I think
enough.
that
Yeah.
they deserve a little bit. They deserve a lot of the love that they've gotten over the years, and it's a shame for them that they don't get quite the same level of love. But I think their sales are great, so they don't necessarily need people to pat them on the back.
I'm sure they're doing just fine there. So
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting, the change there, because it would have been unquestionable. I wouldn't have had to ask the question, say, about a decade or so ago.
Well, people were chasing trucks
then-
back then, so they were blinded
Yeah.
by that lust for the Tropicalia or whatever the double
See the
IPA was
Stars,
coming out. See the
big
Star.
stout
Oh
that
yeah,
came out. That was a lot of hype in
It was-
that one.
and
So.
it was fantastic. And Existence was their big stout too,
Yeah.
and I've had both of those,
Existence,
and they're fantastic. But
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure I have bottles of both of those still tucked away in the beer closet. So I'll have to look and see.
We need to get those open and taste them. I know I have
Sometime soon.
glassware
Probably time for it. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know I have glassware for Existence. It's got silver Existence
The
written
nice
across
Teku
it.
glasses, weren't
Yeah,
they?
it's like a really heavy, like wide
Yeah.
Teku too.
Yeah.
It's a very cool glass that I trot out occasionally if I'm drinking a Creature Comfort Stout, and they still come out with canned stouts on the regular, and they're still delightful when they do.
Good stuff, man. But that does lead into another story we're going to talk about. I just, talking about best breweries, whoever's opinion it may be that's voting for that. But the 2026 U.S. Open Beer Championship just announced their winners for this year's competition. And it grows every year. The competition gets bigger every year. It's a few people that run it. One of the guys that runs it, he actually founded one, and I think maybe the first technical craft brewery in Georgia, Friends Brewing in Helen. And then he's actually in Ohio now, but he goes around and we'll collect some beers for those that don't send them in there. But it came out, all the awards, some big overviews, a big overview of the stats there. 583 medals were awarded. There were 188 style categories judged. 305 breweries won medals in the championship. That is representing 43 states, provinces, and countries. And the Grand National Champion Brewery got 9 medals total in the competition there. And that Grand National Champion was, Brian, I've heard this name a few times, and I'll be honest, one of the reasons it sticks out, Third Eye Brewing Company out of Hamilton, Ohio. You and I have a friend that owns a perfume company named Third Eye Fragrance Company. So,
of course, yeah.
Seeing the name, kind of catches my eye there. I already told him they should do a collaboration, but I'm not familiar with any of their beers. But they got 9 total medals. 5 of those were gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze, and across a pretty good variety of styles here. Most of them darker, but they had a mocha operandi breakfast stout, a double astral chocolate beer, unleashed potential light coffee beer, and Kelly's Private Stash, which was a barley wine, or is a barley wine there. So overall, the top 3 were Third Eye Brewing, River North Brewery out of Denver, and Feather Falls Brewing out of California there. So if we take a look down by states, if we look at like the top 5, Ohio was the number 103 medals for Ohio breweries.
That's
in
impressive.
In the Open Beer Championship. North Carolina with a good showing with 58 medals. You had Texas in there with 54, California with 51, and Colorado with 32. And I'll go to 6 just because 6 just happens to be Georgia there. So, we'll go ahead and go down.
I was going to say,
so.
and who was number 6 in this?
Yeah. So, as far as looking at the beer style family, Lager Pilsner, 101 medals there. And so it's interesting to see how that category has been growing there. The next one was flavored and specialty beers. I think pretty broad there with what they did with that. Then we had IPA, stout, British Ale, sour, wild beers were some of the top categories there. So the full stats, if you want to take a look, you can go to, let me look at the address again. It is the US Open Championships.com, or if you just Google US Open Beer Championship, it'll take you right there. But that's got the full list of medal winners and all of that there. So, yeah, always fun to see these, kind of see if any of your favorites make the list there, or like with Third Eye, maybe it puts a new brewery on your radar. So if we've got any listeners in Ohio that actually, I know people in Ohio, we'll take care of this. So we'll get some Third Eye. So I recently sent them some whiskey, so I'm sure I can get them to send me some beer. We can make
nice.
that happen. So, but yeah, so interesting to see that. That's just kind of a broad overview. Lots more information at their website if you want to check it out.
I was just randomly looking through the award-winning beers, and one of them that got gold is called Spruce Willis, and I'm like, spruce beer, and a name that's funny, from Three Blondes Brewing in Michigan.
Dang, that sounds like that could be your thing there.
That would probably be my thing, and it's funny, and it looks like for the category they beat Hop Butcher for the World, which is that's quite an undertaking, because Hop Butcher does
for sure
some great stuff with I don't know about specialty pale, so that's a different category than maybe they typically do. But yeah, anyway.
Interesting. Good stuff. Well, Brian, moving right along here, we got some politics news here. So beer and politics mixing together. What a fun thing that is. There's been a little shakeup in Maine with the Senate race there. And we have Dan Kleban from Maine Beer Company has decided he's going to get back in the Senate race.
Yeah, he's officially back in. He's back in because the original Democratic nominee, Graham Plattner, suspended his campaign on July 8th after accusations of a past sexual assault came to light. He apparently denied the accusations, and I'm going to say that because I don't want us to get in trouble. I don't know anything about this at all. But he did then end his campaign, which is interesting. That's false, but also I'm leaving. So I don't know what to make of that. But Kleban started his Senate campaign back in September, but he dropped out a month later to throw his support behind Maine's Governor Janet Mills for the position. He says he's been flooded with messages and calls from people in Maine asking him to get back into the race, and he has. Long before he was known for brewing world-class beers, he had a completely different career path. He used to work as an attorney, and he isn't just a successful local business brewery owner. He's been deeply involved with the national craft beer landscape, even serving on the board of directors for the Brewers Association. So he does have a lot of background in both like law and leadership. So that gives him a certain amount of qualification for this position. We're talking about this because it's related to, a well-known brewer in Maine Brewing, but it isn't just like an interesting news item. Apparently, Maine has become something of a battleground state. I've never heard of this, but until now. But it's expected to have a significant influence on which party runs the U.S. Senate after the November election. So, yeah, Dan might be casting the deciding vote. And I think we'll have a better idea of how it all turns out for Dan after Dan Kleban. Sorry, I don't want to get too informal with the guy. Yeah, my buddy Dan. I think we talked to him on the show some years ago.
We had him on the show, sure.
Yeah, I don't think we're on first name basis though. Yeah. Mr. Kleban. After this weekend, I think we'll have some idea. I think there's going to be decisions made or something like that. I read that somewhere. I don't recall the specifics, but I don't. Is Graham Plattner the guy that had the interesting tattoo as well? Is that the same guy?
Okay, I wasn't sure. I know I have followed the highlights, the headlines, I would say, on that. I know what's been said in the 15-second news snippets. I haven't dug into it any deeper than that.
Okay, I thought you might know because a lot of these cases, a little bit more than I do.
No,
I don't pay attention at all. I know somebody had a very interesting tattoo, and I Googled it, and I'm like, well, sure enough, that looks like that's exactly what that is.
Okay,
so that's all I know.
All right, yeah. Good stuff. We'll see how that does. I mean, like you said, Brian, we don't know Dan Kleban well. We've talked to him a couple times, and he seems like a solid guy. I know he does a lot of good stuff with his brewery and the community and that. So. Knowing as little as I do, he seems like a solid candidate there.
He does. Yeah. Seems like he's qualified at the very least. Right. He's got some, good bona fides or bona fides or however you say that word.
Bonafides, I think.
There you go. I'm sure that's it.
Greek. Yeah.
Bonafides.
Bonafides. Right. Well, Brian, moving along, some kind of politically related, I guess it is here. The Canada Act is an escalation in the booze trade war with Canada, which has been a sore spot for a while.
Yeah, for I think people on both sides of the border. But New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney has introduced a bill with a comically on-the-nose name. It's called the Canada Act. In this case, Canada is actually an acronym that stands for Combating Attacks on our national alcoholic drinks by allies. Actually, I think in this case, Canada's what they call a backronym. That's where you start with a word and then you mash and contort other words together to fit the abbreviation. And they're always heavily cringe-inducing, but politicians love them. I sigh every time I see these. But anyway,
I picture a lot of high fives when they pulled that.
Oh,
together.
you know it. And the high fives would be the cringiest. They probably
Just
half
the
of them are
sloppiest
missing.
high fives out there.
Yeah, terrible stuff. But this bill doesn't immediately slap heavy fines on or fees on maple syrup or poutine or anything like that. Instead, it directs the U.S. The Office of the U.S. Trade Representative to launch a formal investigation into Canada's provincial restrictions on American beer, wine, and spirits. It seems that the Congresswoman's constituents include some winery and distillery owners, and they've been completely locked out of the nearby Canadian market, and that's hurting their business. And the bill is based on Section 301 of the U.S. Trade Act of 1974, so there's some legal precedent, I think is the word for this. That gives the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative the authority to investigate whether foreign governments have adopted unfair, unjustifiable, or discriminatory policies that burden U.S. commerce. If investigators decide that there are unfair trade practices, the president could be given the green light to slap retaliatory tariffs and trade limits right back on Canada exports. Of course, this all began, back in March of 2025 when President Trump imposed 25% tariffs on Canadian imports to begin with. Shortly thereafter, every Canadian province except Alberta and Saskatchewan removed American alcohol from government-controlled liquor stores. Alberta and Saskatchewan are different because they rely heavily on private retailers instead of government-run liquor store monopolies. So it's worth pointing out, though, even if this bill does get past both houses and get signed into law, it would still require the U.S. Trade Representative to actually do the investigation and then actually find unfair practices. I suspect he'd get pressure. That office would get pressure to do them and find something, but it's not a guarantee. But I think that I guess we're still fighting with Canada over booze and tariffs and things like that.
We as in Beer Guys Radio, we try and stay out of political opinions. We're here to talk about beer. We report political news, but you know what? This situation is a lot like an older sibling punching a younger sibling, and when the younger sibling punches them back, they go cry to their mom. Is essentially what we've got here.
Maybe a little bit, yeah.
So, I think it's like, well, I can't believe you've done this. It's like, well, you started it. You went out and decided to throw these 25% tariffs and then want to complain about unfair trade practices here. So I just think our political landscape in general is just an absolute clown show right now. And I just can't make heads or tails of any of it. So we'll just see how it all shakes out.
I wonder if anything's been accomplished by that, because it seemed to be a big focus of the news and everything, and then it kind of went away. But I don't think any of the tariffs did. I think it's just they're just there. I'm like,
and I don't know what all was impacted by it, but for example, FedEx, UPS, the carriers. I got an email the other day from FedEx that that there's refunds pending for tariffs paid for things that you ordered, from outside of the U.S. Because I've had stuff from France, Australia, Dubai, and all that. And I'm not going to get hundreds back or anything, but I know some people who paid several $100s on them. And when it first went into effect, another thing that has been problematic was the carriers imposed administrative fees on the tariffs. So, you would buy something that cost $500 and your tariffs would be $360 on it. It's like, how in the world does a 10% tariff, 15% tariff add up to $300 some dollars? And a lot of times it was administrative or miscalculated in that. So who knows how it all shake out, but it was decided that a lot of those were not legal. So there's a lot of refunds pending.
So they did overturn some of the stuff. Maybe that's why it got quiet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is some that said the president has a certain amount of power to impose some things. And there's another thing he can do. Nate, I don't know if you know the details, any of it, but the president has certain powers to impose these things. But what Trump did was beyond presidential authority. So it was ruled illegal, basically. And it was to the point that it's went back. And I think I actually saw a news article that they said the government has refunded it was like $81 billion, 81 million. I don't remember exactly, but it was a pretty large amount. So we'll see.
Oh wow.
We'll see.
Okay. Yeah. That the interesting thing is when these things I would have expected there to be bigger news about that, like some of the stuff getting overturned, and maybe there was, but it just wasn't making it to the beer news did not pick up on it, and maybe they're not as maybe it's not benefiting them as much, or maybe they're just like we're just.
I don't know where all it applies. The place that I heard about it the most had to do with like purchasing stuff like on an individual level, because I'm sure if these tariffs were illegal, the companies that paid them will be getting refunds, and you can guarantee those increased costs were passed on to the consumer, but there's really no way to have a direct line to say consumers will get money back off of that. So they're
gonna end up pocketing it, of course.
Of course.
I mean, it's what it's gonna happen.
And again, I don't know how it works anything outside of shipping carriers. So
got it.
We'll see there. Well, Brian, this is something that I guess is good news. That's science. Beer science here, but Japanese scientists have found a way to boost a healthy amino acid in beer.
Yeah, and they're saying that it's they're going to enhance a beer. It could enhance a beer in a way that could actually help you bounce back from fatigue and also sleep better. That's what they're saying. They've done this by developing a wild, non-GMO yeast strain that increases health-boosting amino acids during fermentation. The secret ingredient is an amino acid called ornithine, and I think I'm saying that right, ornithine. It is a natural compound that helps your body run its internal waste management cycle, and that means it specifically helps flush out ammonia when your body metabolizes protein. I guess when you dissolve protein in your system, it releases a bunch of ammonia, and nobody needs ammonia in their system. Nobody got time for that. I've never heard of it before, but apparently it's also already popular as a nutritional supplement. It's often marketed as a way to help people recover from exhaustion, lower their stress, and get better sleep. I don't know about any of that, but apparently that's the marketing. The new superstar yeast is called AD Horn 49, and that really rolls off the tongue. AD Horn 49. And instead of using high-tech gene editing tools to make it, the scientists stuck to traditional breeding techniques. So it's not one of those questionable Franken yeasts that were fused together in a lab from parts of dead yeast and lesser beings and whatever else. Its parent yeast is apparently just a natural Saccharomyces cerevisiae, which is a brewer's yeast, just your typical brewer's yeast. And in laboratory tests, the new AD Horn 49 yeast strain produces over 9 times more ornithine than the original parent yeast. But it also apparently is still able to ferment beer like a normal yeast strain, and it produces normal levels of carbon dioxide. It just seems to behave the same way as everything else. It just produces more of this amino acid. The article fails to mention, though, what's the impact of the ornithine on the finished beer? For example, will it make the beer taste different? Will it have an impact on head retention? I see stuff like these amino acids, and I'm like, I don't remember how that works with the. I don't remember my beer chemistry so well, but this surfactant or something like that, whatever causes beer foam to form. And I'm like, does it inhibit that or does it promote that? How does that work? So, that clearly wasn't the focus of this study. It's definitely, but it will definitely have an impact. If these are factors in the flavor and the head retention and other aspects of the beer, it's going to have an impact on how popular these beers are with consumers once they are made, if they are made. So, and yeah, I guess we'll see. It's kind of neat, but this is definitely feeding into the whole craze of functional beverages that are out there right now. So.
Yeah, it's just looking up some notes on the taste, Brian. It does say that L-ornithine or ornithine usually tastes quite bitter, slightly salty, and alkaline, and can leave a lingering medicinal aftertaste. So we'll see how that comes out, and or maybe maybe it'll be something that they have to do it within certain beer styles. I mean, maybe a West Coast IPA, Brian, if it's got bitterness to it. I guess it depends on what type of bitterness is, whether it would actually be negative or complimentary in the beer.
Is it what immediately came to mind, and I don't even know why it is. Like this beer is so West Coast, it's actually a kelp IPA. Like
kelp IPA.
Yeah, it's like weird bitterness and brine and all that. I'm like little saltiness to it. It's a kelp IPA. It's like extreme West Coast IPA. It's the new hot thing.
West. Go west.
I can't wait to try it. It doesn't sound great, but I guess I wonder how much more you need to have happen in your beer before it's notable. Like I know in things like, for example, perfume, like very small amounts of horrible smelling things actually can be very pleasant
due to the potency of them. And so I know that we've tried some of the functional beverages, functional non-alcoholic beers, and they did have like a mineralic taste to them.
Oh yeah.
So, that may be, but you know what? I don't mind that in certain beers. Like that's one thing I've talked about. I can't believe I'm
Fonta Flora. That's the minerality.
That the water that they use has a mineralic quality to it. So all of their beers have that. And I actually really enjoy that in their beers. I like the profile that it gives. So who knows? We'll have to wait for these ornithine beers to make it stateside and see what they're all about there. Maybe they can build them with brew them with that magic grain there that I'm forgetting the name of right now.
Fonio? Talk about the Fonio, the West African grain. Yeah.
Oh, Fonio ornithini. There. They've got a name and a Harry Potter spell all there in one. So it'd be pretty cool. Well, Brian, before we move along, man, how about we give a shout out to our friends at Truck and Tap?
Yes. So you might wonder how I'm able to come up with a completely new set of beer picks every week for Truck and Tap. It's not hard. Between the 4 locations, there are 80 taps to choose from. You subtract a tap or two each place for non-beer options like hard seltzer, cider, and cold brew coffee, and you still have a ton of options. Not only that, but the beer options are surprisingly balanced. If you break the beer options into categories like IPAs, sours, stouts, lagers, and other ales, including Belgians and things like that, you have an almost equal number of each. I've done the math. I actually pulled it all down and ran it through. I used AI actually, but don't hate me for that. That means no matter what category of beer that you're in the mood for, not only will you find it, but you're going to have a few options in that category at the very least. And that's an impressive feat, and that's what Truck and Tap is all about. So let's take a look at our best options this week and a little something I like to call my Truck and Tap beer picks for the week. At Truck and Tap Woodstock, I'm going with Vanilla Skyline from Hubbard's Cave. Vanilla Skyline is a big 12% imperial stout made with vanilla beans. Why would I pick that right now? Because stouts are for summer, of course. And as I recall, this is a great stout. I'm pretty sure I've had this in the past month. It's made the rounds. At the Duluth location, I'm getting Pils Mundial from 3 Taverns. I think I said that right. They describe it as a Euro-style Pilsner, dry hopped with Falconer's Flight hops. They brewed it to commemorate the World Cup. And if you're going to drink a World Cup beer, it makes sense to drink it during the World Cup. So now is the right time. It's not over yet. It's getting close, though. And a little icing on the cake, this Pilsner is on their side pull tab. So that's good. At Truck and Tap Alpharetta, my pick is Lake James Rhine from Fonta Flora. Fonta Flora, like we were just talking about. I had this beer years ago, and I really enjoyed it. It's a very light lager that is made with heritage corn, watermelon, fresh lime, and tagine, and it's really cool. And how light is it? It's very light. It's 3.8%. And if memory serves, you don't miss the alcohol. It's a great summer beer. You can drink a lot of these. And, can't go too far, but you're not going to feel it like you would something else. Very refreshing. Very, very enjoyable. And finally, at the Lawrenceville location, I'm going with Tangerine Steam from Reformation. I got a little excited when I read the description for this beer. They call it a fruit-saturated sour finished with tangerine puree, which sounds good. But then they gave it an aromatic lift with something they call sour tangy brew gas, which turns out to be a terpene. And I really enjoyed the days of terpene beer experimentation a few years back, so I have to try this. Terpene beers just kind of a cool thing. And I don't know why we got away from those. But anyway, there you have my beer picks for the week. Get out there and have a beer or two. As always, if you'd like to see the full tap list before stopping by, take a look at truckandtap.com. The taps do change quickly, and you never know what great new beer might go on and which of these will sell out. And if you'd like to see what the food trucks are serving and what events are happening, drink specials, trivia, karaoke, live music, I think they even show some of the World Cup games, I think they're allowed to do that. You can also find at truckandtap.com. Everything you need to know can be found at truckandtap.com, so check it out. And thank you to Truck and Tap for your support.
Thank you, Truck and Tap. We always appreciate it. Well, Brian, Gen Z, the news, it flips and it flops, and we just never know what to make of Gen Z. They're the cause of the downfall of drinking. They're just not drinking enough, those slackers. It's absolutely horrible. But some recent stories say that the rumors of Gen Z being a little drier and more sober may be exaggerated.
Yeah. So for years, the headlines have been telling us about how Gen Z is completely turning its back on alcohol. They're basically a generation of health nut teetotalers. And we've talked about this several times on the show. You know, if you've been listening for a while, you know that we often have expressed some doubts about this idea. Like, they're young to begin with, and they don't have a lot of money is another point. But, the latest global data says that it's a myth. This is a myth that has been conclusively debunked, according to new consumer research from IWSR. And IWSR, by the way, is an organization that basically tracks what, where, and how much people are drinking all around the world. So if people are drinking, they know about it. Looking at raw data across 15 key global markets, if I can get that out, 74% of legal drinking age Gen Z population are consuming alcohol compared to 76% of adults overall. That's a razor thin 2% difference. I don't even think that's statistically significant, but I'm not a mathematician. Just 3 years ago, though, only 66% of legal drinking age Gen Zers were drinking. That's an 8% jump in 3 years, and that indicates that Gen Z's drinking habits are stabilizing at levels that are comparable with older generations. They're finally making some money. They've got reasonably good jobs now. I mean, come on. It turns out that boomers are the real generation of moderation right now. They recorded the lowest drinking participation rate of any generation at just 71%, down 2% over the past 3 years. And they also reported the fewest drinking occasions and consumed the smallest number of drinks per session, averaging just 2.6 drinks. Millennials are now the industry's biggest drinking population with an 81% participation rate, followed by Gen X at 77%. I feel like we were top at one point in time, weren't we? But anyway.
Yeah, how about that? Okay.
Yeah, millennials are killing it. I think boomers are getting a little old.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. I was like, well, they're old. You know,
yeah, they got to cut back a little bit. I mean, they're still rocking it at 71%, but the study also found that while more people are drinking in general, they are drinking less per sitting. The average drinks per occasion fell from 4.4 to 3.9. The moderation trend increasingly appears to be driven by lifestyle choices, which tend to be more permanent in nature. So in short, it isn't Gen Z drinking less. We're basically all drinking less, at least at each occasion, and that's what the numbers say. So yeah, the numbers aren't just Gen Z. I enjoy blaming Gen Z as much as the next person, possibly more than the next person, but the reduced numbers in drinking isn't Gen Z's fault, it turns out.
We'll see what the next news story says about it, Brian.
I'm sure
we'll see how that goes.
Completely.
But yeah,
different.
I mean, it definitely makes sense that they're like, well, boomers are slacking. Yeah, I can see that. You slow down as you get there, get a little older. So we'll let that pass. But I'm surprised that Gen X is, I guess some of the elder Gen Xers ages are getting up there pretty good as well.
How old is the oldest Gen X, and how young is the youngest boomer?
So Generation X started in 65. So you figure 60 plus for the eldest of Generation X there. So boomers were 46 to 64. Then, of course, you got the millennials, 81 to 96. Z is the 97 to 2012. Generation Alpha. And Brian, I see that they now have coined one for people born 2025 to 2039, and they're going to call them Gen Beta. Generation Beta.
I guess it makes sense. Yeah. Alpha, Beta. What's the next one? Gamma? Is that the next one? Is it going to be Gen Gamma after that?
All right. Why did we start with X with ours? Because we went from like silent generation to boomers, and it's like, you know what? Generation X.
I think it had to do with our like weird indifference or I don't know, distance or something like that. Like we're kind of generation whatever. Like yeah.
Okay.
I guess. I think it's I think it was may have made more sense back when they coined it. Probably in the when did they coin this? Maybe the 80s. They decided what the name
things
was.
That like. I mean, wasn't stuff like that just Generation X? That kind of the vibe back then, anyhow.
Yeah.
I mean, you had Power 93. We had 99X here in Atlanta for the Gen X generation.
There was a lot of X in everything. X, like X Extreme with the X, like by itself, or super large.
Drop the first E, make the X extremely large in there. So. Yeah, I think it was just kind of the way things were happening then. So
generation marketing.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. Well, Brian, you know that these big macro beer companies like to do silly things to get our attention, and it works. We always take a look and see.
Of course.
But Natty Light's got one out that I'll admit is pretty cool, and it is the Natty Light Cool Shed.
Yes, yeah. Tim, you know what your backyard needs?
Yeah.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you anyway.
Okay.
I'm just going to see if we agree on this.
See if we align here.
You need a big walk-in beer cooler. Is that what you were thinking?
It was.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's what the folks from Natural Light are telling me. I'm like, they called me up and said, you know what Tim needs? Big walk-in beer cooler, his backyard.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Because the problem with backyards during the summer is they get hot. But beer, especially Natural Light, does not taste good when it's hot. So, and also, the refrigerator that's full of cold beers in the kitchen, but you're in the backyard, which is not the kitchen. You see the problem here? That we've got a problem. It's a dilemma.
It's adding up. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a problem. Like, what are you going to do? You're somewhere where it's hot and the beer doesn't taste good there, but the place where it does taste good is not where you're at. Don't know what to do. So to solve this all too familiar problem that's plaguing the country, Natural Light has invented the Cool Shed, like you said, which is the walk-in beer cooler the size of a tool shed, hence the name Cool Shed, Tool Shed. And it's powered primarily by solar panels on its roof, which is interesting. And of course, you do put this in your yard, not in your kitchen, because putting it in your kitchen would be redundant. You've already got the fridge there, so you don't want it there. Also, solar panels won't work there. And when you fill the Cool Shed up with Natural Light beers, they will be kept cold by Natural Light. Do you see what they did there? The solar power.
I do.
That's pretty neat.
Now,
right?
I have a point of clarification here. You said we'll be powered primarily by solar power, so not exclusively.
Yeah, you're not supposed to key on that particular word. But yes, I assume that it will require some additional power. I have questions about this because I don't know if solar power or solar panels are powerful enough to generate the kind of juice you would need.
They are, but you're going to need, of course, the light to do that. So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a week of rain, so I mean, it would make sense that you're going to need some backup power there. It's a cool thought, though.
It is. You know what? And that's cool. If it requires only minimal occasional like power to keep it cold, I guess you don't need to run it at all in the winter. Just open the door. It's fine. But anyway, or maybe you need to keep it closed to keep them insulated. But I know what you're asking at this point, Tim. Where can I buy this brilliant invention? And the answer, unfortunately, is nowhere. But you can enter a contest to win it. You have until Friday, July 31st to enter for a chance at naturallight.com/coolshed. But wait, there's more. It gets even better. You also win a lifetime supply of beer money in the form of a prepaid card with over $15,000 on it if you win the Cool Shed. The idea is you would use that money to buy 2 24-packs of Natural Light a month for 35 years. So they assume you're going to live for another 35 years only, and I guess they figure that for in perpetuity, 24 packs will go for $18.49 a pack.
Okay.
So Yeah, but they're not the boss for you. Boss of you, you can buy whatever you want. I don't think that they can control what you do with the gift card. So,
what if I use it to buy a pinball machine and just use the beer cooler as like an air conditioned pinball shed?
Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah. Oh, that's the hack that we all needed. I think
and the beer would still be cold.
Yeah, you could put a 6-pack or 2 in there if they fit around the side of the pinball machine. You know, additionally, 500 entrants. If you do enter for this, 500 other people will win $15 in beer money, which I think is kind of lame because I can't buy a 4-pack of hazy IPAs with $15 these days. But I don't think you can get a 24-pack for $15 either by their math. But you know, whatever. It's $15. You could buy some beer with it. Yeah, so you might as well go out and enter. Try to get your $15. You know.
Look, I'll admit I'm not getting excited about Natural Life, but the solar powered beer shed is pretty cool, man. That really is a pretty solidly cool idea there.
I did. The first thing I thought of when I got it is like I could put a folding chair out there, turn the thing on, and that could be my summertime smoking garage. Like my
a sealed insulated thing is going to be a pretty lousy place.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, and I guess if I put a chimney on it, it'll probably defeat the purpose.
The purpose there. Yeah.
I'll open the door up occasionally to let out some of the smoke.
Brian, with you living in an apartment, are you going to put it on the roof of your building? Or are you going to put it in the parking lot?
They won't have a problem with that up on the roof.
Yeah.
Just buy another parking space at your condo, but make sure it's on the outside deck there.
There you go.
Oh, that's a really good idea. Yeah. Set that up. Just put my name on it. Yeah.
Solid, man. Paying rent on the cool shed.
That's right. Yeah.
Brian, I didn't see this one. This one snuck in on me. I haven't seen anything about the story. I don't even know what it is, and I'm a little concerned about it. But Busch, they couldn't let Natty Light outdo them with their cool shed. So Busch has a limited edition live worm can.
Yeah. This one will pay off. This is not a trick. This is one limited edition collaboration that I don't think anybody's going to be very disappointed about not being available here in the U.S., but it's too wild for me not to mention it. Imagine opening a crisp, cold can of Busch only to find there's no beer inside. Instead, it's full of dirt and night crawlers. That would be neat, right? Everybody would love that. Right. Yes, so it's bait for fishing or basically they're calling it premium live worms. I don't know what makes a worm premium, but I guess these are top-notch worms. And I guess you'll catch only the most discerning of fish, the pallets of fine palated fish. But
some gourmet worms.
Yeah, Busch didn't just dig up these worms from their backyard. They teamed up with Evergreen Nightcrawlers, a company that's said to be the leader in North America for live bait industry for like 40 years. So there's a company whose whole thing is live bait, which is a very fascinating thing. I guess it makes sense that there would be somebody who needs to do that. But the release of the live worm can was timed to coincide with the opening of weekend of bass season in Ontario, Canada, and for that reason, it's available up there, not here. But apparently, they have been handing cans of these out at local lakes in Canada, it's really amusing the locals too. So if you want your very own can of worms and you happen to live in Ontario, Canada, head to your local Bass Pro Shop. They will have one there. That's the only place you're going to be able to find them, aside from like a random lakeside pop-up event where they're giving out cans of worms. So. This news hasn't succeeded in making me want to drink a Busch Light, but it does make me want to hit a lake again and go fishing again. So, yeah, this is an odd one. These collaborations are getting stranger and stranger.
I guess it's a know your audience thing, man.
Yeah.
So we're talking about Busch beer here, up in Canada. All right. I mean, I have fished with worms. If I was going fishing and purchasing worms for bait, and I happened to see a can that said Busch Beer premium canned worms, there's a good chance I'd choose those, to be honest with you.
It's possible. It might.
Yeah.
So Busch Light does lean into like the whole outdoors thing. They have like a camo pack that I've seen that comes out, and I think they've collaborated with Bass Pro Shops. So this isn't too outside, beyond the pale for them. This is kind of like you said, is is kind of their demographic, the outdoor lifestyle, hunters, fishers, that sort of thing. So I get it. I just think it's weird like a weird visual. And I saw a visual of a can with worms and dirt in it. I'm like, you're putting that in people's heads, and they're going to see that when they think about your beer. But you know what? That might be music to some people's eyeballs or something like that.
I guess it's good that they let people know this, and hey, this is cans well marked and that. I don't know, Brian, you may not be old enough, and Nate, I'm sure you're probably not old enough, but Coke did a contest in the 80s, I think it was either 80s or early 90s, where they had put a mechanism in a can where you opened it and it would pop up like you won money, and it was actual money in the soda can. And you pop the tab and a little spring load mechanism would push up $1, $5, what have you. Construction workers and stuff were opening drinks on the job site and getting $1 bill and not having anything to drink because it nullified the can when you did that. So people were like, man, I wanted my drink, this is ridiculous. So, or they may even get it out of a machine. And at the time it was not common for a machine to take dollar bills. So, like, man, that was my last 50 cents. What do I do now? I don't have a drink and I got this $1 bill. So, not everything, not every promo with the best intentions. I'm sure the marketing folks thought people would rather win a prize, but sometimes you just want your drink, man. Sometimes
that is some great unintended consequences type of stuff. I love that. That is wild. Like, we didn't think this one through.
It's like, I guess some people just really would want their drink. That's marketing people like getting giddy about an idea and just getting blinders on.
This is the people after they named the Canada Act and gave each other high fives. You know what? Every random can will every other can of Coke is, instead of giving you being full of Coke, it'll give you $1 bill. Oh, right. That's amazing. High fives. We love it.
Yeah, this is it. And I got to admit, if I was part of a marketing team that designed something where a $1 bill popped out of I also would think it was pretty cool. And it was, conceptually it's cool. Functionally, maybe not so much for the thirsty construction workers or all of that. So, but talking about all this marketing toys and that, it just reminded me we totally forgot about the tanker being in Atlanta last weekend.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The G-Force, the Voodoo Ranger tanker came through. So, and I did want to see that. I think it would have been fun to check out, but we forgot and we missed it.
Yeah, that was down. I think I looked at that at one point, and it was down in one of the parks in town.
Yeah.
And around
I totally forgot about it there.
Yeah.
So, interesting. Awesome. That about wraps it up for our show this week. We thank you so much for hanging out with us. Always good to spend some time with you. If you enjoy what we're doing, we'd love it if you'd tell a friend to tune into the show. Share a link on your socials. Just whatever you can do to get the word out. We'd love for more people to check us out. If you really enjoy what we're doing, then definitely take a look. Patreon.com/beerguys for as little as $5 a month. Brian, that's less than a Starbucks latte. You can help support Beer Guys Radio. And we want to give a shout out to Rob, one of our newest Patreon supporters. So thank you so much for supporting the show. We appreciate it. But, with all that said, we hope that you all have a really good week. And do not forget to drink local. Cheers.